Welcome to our lesson on starting a project in ARCHICAD. We're using ARCHICAD version 12, the latest version. Alright, to simulate getting started in ARCHICAD, I've dropped our ARCHICAD icon here on my desktop, and generally we're going to double click on the ARCHICAD icon, or if we already have a file started, we can double click on that file in Explorer or wherever we've placed it on our desktop. And that will bring up our ARCHICAD program. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to start a new project. So we'll click New. And this box comes up. And it asks us whether we want to use a template. And for now we're going to use the ARCHICAD 12 template. We can use the latest project settings, which will take the project settings from a previous project, and we can set up our work environment here using a current profile, layouting profile, standard profile, or visualization profile. We're going to use the standard profile 12 and click New. And at that point we start a new project. So one of the first things that we want to do when we get our project started, I'm going to draw some walls in here by selecting the wall tool, just so we have something to work with and look at. Okay, one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to set up our screen to make it work more easily. And we're going to go into Windows, Palettes, and we're going to pick a few palettes that make it a little more easy to work in ARCHICAD. One palette that I find very useful is Quick Layers. So we will click on Quick Layers, bring that palette up, and this palette unfortunately does not dock. I like to put it here. Then we'll go into Windows again, Palettes, Control Box, and Window, Palettes, Coordinates. These were essential in earlier versions of ARCHICAD, and out of force of habit most people are going to dock those down here. Alright, now once we've got something to look at in ARCHICAD, we've got 4 walls drawn on the floor plan here. When we start up with this template, we've got some section lines already pre-created for us. You can see our marker for our section line here. Now we can go down here to this little icon and fit everything into 1, 2. So if we double click on generic axonometry, that'll bring up our 3D window. And if we come down here to the orbit tool and click on that to activate it, and hold down our left mouse button, we can scroll that orbit tool to take a look at our project in the 3D window. Now, another thing that we want to look at when we're starting a project in ARCHICAD is Options, Project Preferences. So we'll click on Project Preferences, Working Units and Levels, and here we have a drop-down box that gives us some options for our project preferences. Here we can choose to do our dimensions in feet and fractional inches, in meters, centimeters, or millimeters. We can go feet and fractional inches, feet and decimal inches, decimal feet, fractional inches, and decimal inches. We can go down to 1/64th of an inch, or we can show our fractions rounded up to the nearest inch, half inch, quarter inch, etc. For our layout units, we have the same options, and fractions again from rounded up to 1/64th, from 1/64th to 1 inch. Our angle unit can be shown in decimal degrees or degrees, minutes, and seconds. We can select grad or radian or surveyor's unit. The number of decimals in our angle unit. The angle and text size decimals in the dialog box. And we can set our reference levels to either project 0, datum, or sea level. We can use these buttons up here to scroll through the various different option boxes that we have for the project preferences. So we'll click Next and we'll go into Dimensions. We can also click here to bring a drop-down box and go directly to the area that we want to change or manipulate. Here we have dimensions, and we can go building scale and large scale, US builder, US architect, etc. We can select the standard dimension type. Again, here we can select feet and fractional inches, feet and decimal inches, etc. Our fractions, again, none, quarter, half, eighth, down to 1/64th. We can select how we display the display of 0, feet, and inches. We can select our witness line scalability, either scaled or fixed. And we have boxes to revert all dimensions text to automatic position or revert all custom text to measured value. Here on our calculation units, we can again go decimal inches, meter, centimeter, millimeter. Our area unit can be calculated in square feet, square meter, square centimeter, or square millimeter. And we can refine how many decimals we want to refine that down to. We can turn extra accuracy on and off, and we have some selections there. Our volume calculations can be done in cubic feet, a liter, cubic centimeter, or a cubic millimeter. We can go gallon, cubic yards, cubic inches. Our angle unit can be in decimal degrees, minutes, and seconds, grad or a radian. And again, we can go down and assign the number of decimals that we want to refine that down to. Construction elements, we can show them above the home story as a dashed line or choose another line. Below the home story, dashed line, or we can choose another line. Here we have some options on how zones are treated. Here we have options on our layouts. And here we have some other miscellaneous options. I like to change our fractions down to half an inch on a, say, a typical residence. And our fractions to no smaller than half an inch. Another thing that we're typically going to do when we're setting up our project, go back to the floor plan here. As you can see, with these light gray lines here, we have a grid set up in the background that some people like to work with. And we can adjust the grid and how that works. We can go into View, Grid Options, select our grids and background box, and here we have options for the look of the grid. Right now we've got 4 foot in one direction by 4 foot in another direction. We have an option to make an auxiliary grid, which we could make, say, 16 inches in one direction by 16 inches in another direction. We can rotate the grid. And we have some parameters here for snap grid and nudge. We can change the color of our grid lines. And we can change the color of the background. And we'll have a pattern that looks like that. We can change the rotation angle of the grid, and here we have some grid snap options, and we can turn out a grid display on and off. Cancel out of that for now. So there are many different ways to manipulate this grid in the background. We have some boxes up here that we can use to work with the grid. We can turn our grid display on and off here. We can turn our snap grid on and our construction grid on and off. And we can turn our rotated grid on. We had that set at 45 degrees. Now we've got a grid set at 45 degrees. Or we can go back to our orthogonal grid. We can also set our rotated grid. We'll go back to our orthogonal grid. Something else we might want to do when we're starting a project is we'll go into File, Info, Project Info, and here we can type in the name of the client, the project name, project number, all sorts of data that relates to the project. And when we go into our layout book, and let's say select our cover sheet, we'll have some auto text boxes here: client number, project name, street, city, state, county. And by setting up our masters down here with auto text, it will pick up the information that we put into the project info and automatically drop that information down on the page. If it's corrected in File, Info, Project Info, it will automatically update all the pages wherever we have that auto text inserted